All right, here we go. What is up, everybody? All right, the chat is booming. Love that. How are you guys doing? Let me know if you can see and hear me correctly and if all the tech stuff is working. Oh, you guys are already booming here. Love that. Love it, love it. All right, let's see who we got here. We have Black Salt Audio. Whoa, who knew? We got Black Salt Audio here. How cool is that? No, you got the Forsaken by the Stars from Dirty Jersey. We have a name I cannot pronounce from Russia, so that makes sense. We got Kimmo here. Good to see you, Kimmo, man. Finland. All right, we got Ralph Oldman Galetti. I love that. From Albuquerque. I don't know how to pronounce that stuff, man. There's a lot of things here that I don't know how to pronounce. Okay, so just get used to that. It's gonna happen a lot. All right, we got Oku here from Finland. Dan from MO. I'm also gonna pretend to know what MO stands for. So cool, man. Love MO. No clue. Okay, we got Jesse here from Ontario, Canada. Love it. Thanks for putting this together. Heck yeah, man. Stoked to be mixing for you guys. Really excited. Let's check out. You got John here. It's probably John from the HCMS community, right? Good to see you, dude. We got John from Iceland. Love that. All right, we got Rotten Recordings from NC. Nice. I'm assuming that's North Carolina, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, please. But like I said, I don't know what all these like shorts are for when it comes to states. We got Darren here from Vancouver Island. Nice. We got Hellraisers from Mexico. Good to see you. We got Alessandro here. Obviously Alessandro is here. What would a live mix be without having Alessandro here? Love it. All right, cool. We got Triclops 8 again from Germany. Good to see you as well. Your name pops up a lot, man, so it's good to see you. All right, awesome. We got a lot of people here already. Super stoked. We're going to dive into the mix. We have a lot to do today and, Thursday, because we only have 2 live streams for this song, and there's a lot of tracks here. I'm going to show you all of that in just a second, obviously. And so we have a lot to do here. This is probably going to be a long stream. Feel free, if you have to drop out early, that's no problem. I would love if you guys would hang out as much as possible for sure, just with me live here. But if you have to drop out, no worries. The replays will be up, and afterwards we're just going to put all the live streams together in one big video. Let's see. All right, we got Hungary. Alrighty, we got Peter from Hungary. We got Knappe Condolence Death Metal. Love it. I'm assuming that's Mark there. Love it. All right, the gentleman hair. Absolutely, man. The gentleman haircut. We got Lucas here. Good to see you. All right, Marshall saying volume is very low. I know. The volume is low due to the streaming software that we're using. It's cranked over here. It's cranked in Pro Tools, and it's still going to be a little bit low. So you guys just have to turn up your monitors just a little bit to compensate for that. And hey, we're mixing something, right? So all these tracks are going to be low volume anyway. It's not a mastered song, right? So it's not going to be -4 or something like that. So it's going to be a little low volume. So crank up your monitors a little bit, or your headphones, whatever you're using here. Let's see. We got Andreas from Sweden here. We've got Johan, Tommy from Finland. Awesome. Chicago. Heck yeah. All right, Alberto. Love the live streams, man. Happy to do these, dude. We got Frode here, of course. Good to see ya. Richard from Slovakia. Nice. Nice. We got Nashville, Finland, Wisconsin, South Carolina. Love it. Or South Cali, actually. So that could actually be South California. Not sure. We got Germany. That's my neighbor right there, because I'm in the Netherlands, for those of you that don't know. Virginia. All right, cool. A lot of you guys. Big welcome here. Big welcome. We're going to be mixing the song Confusing Me by Hans Hammer. From scratch. I'll show you. I actually have the session loaded up, obviously, and as you can see, there's no plugins inserted, almost no plugins inserted, except for the ones that are in my template. We got a lot of tracks here, a lot of synth tracks, all that purple stuff, a lot of vocals here, and we're gonna mix this song from scratch. All the faders pretty much at 0, and so we have a lot of work to do here. Has anybody here checked out the full song yet for this before you dove into the live stream, so that you know what we're doing here? or is this a brand new song to you guys, which is totally cool as well. Let me know if you guys checked out the song before the live stream, or if this is going to be new for you. All right, let's check out. We got Dylan here from Pittsburgh. Braden from Atlanta. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Again, I'm just terrible at pronouncing names and words and places. So apologies for that. We got Magai here from Norway. Norway for the win. Love it. Mexico City represent. Nice, nice, nice. All right, awesome. Putting in my earbuds and jumping in the pool to listen. Sick. That's the best place where you can check out the mixing live stream, right? Sick, sick, sick. Brand new for you for Forsaken by the Stars. Awesome. All right, new song to you guys. Alrighty, love it, love it. All right, cool. Let's check out what resolution is your screen, dude. I have no clue, man. Absolutely, I don't care about screens. I care about audio, right? So we can talk audio, but don't ask me about any other like tech stuff, okay? Like screens or whatever. Let's see. Oh, so most of you guys are just jumping in fresh here. They haven't checked out. That's totally cool. No stress. Martinez actually checked out the song. That's totally cool. Braden nailed the name. Love it. Cool. All right. All right. We got Franks here from the Netherlands. Heck yeah. Netherlands represent. Sick. Love it. All right. Let's jump in, guys. Let's just start mixing. Because again, we got 2 live streams as opposed to 3 live streams in the previous live mix that I did. And we have a little bit of a different genre. We have more like a modern kind of rock song, as opposed to like kind of, what was it, like a genty kind of metal track that we had last time. And so this song is well produced, as you can see, with the layers of like effects, all that blue stuff, and like the synth stuff. We have a lot of things here that we have to dive into, and so it's going to be a packed live stream. Again, no worries if you have to drop out. You can just catch this later, but of course, happy to hang out with you live. If you got any questions about what I'm doing at any point, please drop them in the chat. I cannot promise that I'll keep up with the chat though, but I'll do my best to read any and all questions that I happen to catch in the chat over there. So without further ado, let's jump into the mix here. Let's just get this song sounding good. First and foremost, I want you guys to know the routing and kind of like how I laid the session out a little bit and what I've done before the live stream already, so that you're kind of on board on where we're starting and what it looks like and everything. And so I color code things pretty aggressively here. So all the red stuff here is drums. And so we have a couple kick tracks and a kick MIDI track and an aux track. That is where the trigger plugin will be on. All of these tracks are routed to this kick bus. And then we have all of our snare tracks and our snare MIDI, which all comes down to this snare bus. Then we have 3 toms over here, which all come down to the tom bus, right? We got a hi-hat and overheads, which will go down to the cymbal bus. And then we have a stereo room mic pair over here, which go to the room bus. All these buses, so the room, the cymbals, the toms, the snare, all these buses, they are routed to the drums bus, which we can find all the way at the bottom of the session over here, which is where we're going to be doing our drum bus compression and stuff like that. And we have our crush sends on our drum shells, and that is over here. That is our crush bus over there. We're going to be doing some parallel compression on that one later on. So that's basically how the routing for drums work, and pretty much the same for all the other like instrument groups, with the exception of all these effects. These will just go straight into the mix bus all the way at the end. But over here we have a bass DI, which is going into our bass bus. We have some rhythm guitars, which end up on our rhythm guitar bus. You get the idea, right? Some lead guitars on the lead bus. We got some more funky guitars. So everything is basically kind of going to subgroups. Even this purple stuff, all these synths end up on this synth bus. And that way you can kind of just get a massive session like this with a ton of tracks. I think there's like 80 tracks or something like that. It's a lot. And you can kind of just, you know, make little sections or little sessions in your session so that it's not as overwhelming. And I really like to use just these buses there, you know, just for visual kind of separation between the synths, for example. And then you have an empty track, and then we go to yellow, which is where the vocals are, right? So it's just easy to see and it's easy to get overwhelmed in a big session like this, but not if you just create these little subgroups and you route them all to like a bus. So hopefully the routing makes sense, right? So all these things, so the guitars, they all gonna end up on this guitar bus. All the synths are gonna end up on this synths bus. So at the end of the session here, I can just easily adjust any levels that I want for like big instrument groups. So let's say the client says, I want the drums louder. I don't have to go back to all the individual tracks. I just grab my drum bus, crank it up a little bit, done, right? All the drums are a little bit louder. So hopefully the routing makes sense. If not, please drop questions in the chat. All right, let's see. We can see the names of the tracks. I don't think you need that. Let me check really quick what you can see. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's kind of weird. Let me see what we can do about that. Maybe I'm zoomed out. There we go. Here you go. Now we can see entire Pro Tools. All right. Alessandra's asking, were they programmed or live drums? I'm pretty sure these are programmed because they kind of look too, perfect here. But I'm not actually sure. And actually, I don't even care. You know what I mean? It's like, just, we're going to get big drums here. So, all right, let's just start mixing. So we're going to, as always, I'm just going to start with my kick in solo, snare in solo, kind of build the balance from there, kind of get every single track to basically a starting point first. And then once we have more context, so once we have guitars and bass and some synths and all these things in, then we can really make like final decisions, because then we really have context of a full mix, right? So, but I'm just going to start with everything kind of in solo, kind of getting some starting points dialed in. And then we'll take it from there. So let's just crank up some kicks here. Kick in. There's some bleed going on. So first up is obviously silencer. I'm gonna try and go fast, because that's the way I like to mix. Just initial thoughts, initial response, boom. That's what I want to do. And so, yeah, hopefully you guys can keep up. But again, the replay is going to be up, so you can just keep going back as much as you would like to. So kick, silencer, kick mode. Let's see what we need here. Bit more deep bleeding there, and then we go straight into Telo's drums over here. Let's see what we can do here. Kick mode is on, that's good. Not looking for perfection just yet, just looking for a starting point, like I said, right? So just cranking up low and high, obviously. I like a healthy amount of mid-range boost as well, usually on the higher side here, to get more like not just a top-end clicky sound, but also like a mid-range clicky sound, which is usually just a little bit more powerful sounding to me. So mid-range boost there. Little bit compression. Let me actually check, because I have Black Salt Audio's clipper here, but I don't want to do too much clipping just yet. And this is just so that you guys have a little bit more volume. But yeah, I don't want to do too much clipping just yet. So back to kick here. Bit more compression. Obviously, you have to tighten up the low mids a little bit. Okay, and smooth the mid-range is a little bit. Let's try that as a starting point for kick in at least. That is our kick out, so I'm just copying over the silencer, because it has even more bleed actually. Ton of snare bleed as well, which is not ideal, but we'll just have to rock with it. I'm just copying over the Telo's drums that are just used. And see, kind of just dial everything back to 0. This one is a lot more mid-range, right? There's a lot more kind of problematic, kind of honky mid-range, which we have to cut out a bit more. Really love what that drive is doing here. Giving us a lot of big kind of low mid-range. Let's see what they sound like together. So they were definitely in phase. That's good. We have a sub kick as well. What about you guys? Let me know in the chat. Do you guys use sub kicks a lot? I don't usually like them. I would just much rather prefer having, like, I don't know, low control on there or something, or a sample that has a lot of sub low end. But I don't know, just to me this just sounds like a honky kind of kind of sound, right? So let's see if we can get rid of that. There we go, that's better. Let's see what it sounds like with the other kicks. Yeah, probably not gonna use it. I'll mute it for now and see if we can get enough sub low end with the sample. But we'll see in a second. So that's it for just the kick in and out for now, at least. Like, again, I'm just building a starting point, trying to get some faders up as quick as possible, so that we have more context, and then we can really make more like finished or final decisions about what we're doing here. I'm gonna immediately bring in the sample for the kick as well. I'm not the type of guy that will be like, oh, I have to use as much of the live drums or of the drums that were provided as possible. I'm the type of guy that will just be like, okay, I'm just going to blend in whatever sample I like and just make the drums sound how I would like them to sound. And just, that means in this case, immediately bringing in the sample, right? Without having to force myself like, oh, I have to make the live kit sound as good as possible before I'm going to rely on samples. I don't usually do that. I just bring in the samples from the start. So in this case, Savage kick, which is a kick that I've been using a lot, because it has a very nice low mid punch and energy to it. And then it's the dead kick over here, which is from Brian Hood's mixing course from way back in the day. I don't know if anybody else has any memories of Brian Hood. He had a cool mixing course with this kick sample as part of it. And let's see what this sounds like just without any processing yet. Just blended this in with the other kicks here. That should be an okay starting point. Alrighty, and now on the kick bus, we're actually going to have another instance of Telos drums so that we have even a bit more control over the amount of low end, the amount of top end. Do we want more saturation or not? Whatever. And mindset when it comes to boosting low end, boosting top end, getting attack out of that kick, getting low end out of it, is basically like, how far can I push that? How far can I push that? How much low end can I actually get away with? Because I think one of the main problems that a lot of people have in MX is that they're just not being aggressive enough when it comes to boosting low end on kicks or low end on bass or top end on a snare so that it really cuts through all these things. A lot of people are being way too careful, right? So my approach is really just to push it as far as I can go, just push it to 10. And then when we have the full mix going on, push it to 11. That's basically the idea here. So just cranking up the low end as far as I can. I don't need much more actually than just more low end. So let's just roll with that as a starting point kick. Then let's go to snare, and we're just going to keep building our drum kit here. And as we have a mixed snare, then we're just going to balance out kick and snare against each other. Let's see what our snare sounds like, actually. So we obviously need gating, because there's a lot of cymbal bleed. And I'm going to go to snare top mode here. And see if we have any quiet hits in this song. Not really, actually. There's just one over here. Okay, so we need to lower the threshold a bit to catch that one. That's pretty much it. The drums are pretty straightforward in this song, which I really like about it. That's it for gate. Then again, just Telos drums with snare mode. Snare top mode, that is. And same principle there. I'm looking for low end and body. I'm looking for attack right now. And I'm looking for sustain and length. That's the three principles that I want to apply when it comes to mixing snares. which, by the way, is going to be a full snare mixing YouTube video. Is coming out very soon on this channel right here, where I'm just going super in-depth, as in-depth as I can get about mixing snares. So keep an eye out for that video as well. And I'll talk more about these 3 principles of mixing snares. There's low end, massive attack, and massive sustain and length. So let's work on these 3 goals here. Low end. We need attack, and I probably want to do a similar thing as to the kick, where we just crank up mid-range attack as well. Yes. And then I'm gonna push that into the drive over here. And that drive is actually giving us a nice little bit of sustain already, which we're just gonna emphasize more later on with the samples as well. Little bit of compression as well, because I feel like we already have a nice attack out of this snare drum. So we don't have to go overboard with that. Okay, let's try that for now. Bring in our snare bottom. Let me actually catch up on the chat real quick. Let's see, we're mixing on CLA 10s. Almost. I'm mixing on the old school Yamaha NS10M Studio, I think. Yeah. So they're the ones with the extra little, the ones that are placed like horizontally as well. Let's see. Sub kick. Okay, you guys are on board with the sub kick. Nice. Can be cool for slow, heavy grooves, but usually they sound kind of whack. Yeah, I mean, I can't agree any more than this. This is absolutely true. Yep. All right. Let's see. Never had any bleed. Not needed. Superior Drummer allows you to add as much bleed as you'd like. For sure, man. Yeah, so sub kicks, you guys are on the fence about it, right? All right, love it. Cool, cool. Is everything clear now? Pretty much about the routing, like the approach here so far, guys? Just let me know. Just drop it in the chat if everything is clear. That is Denise, actually, I should say. Pushing things to the max, mixing approach rocks. I 100% agree, man. I am not of the mindset of like the defensive way of mixing, right? Where you're just kind of cutting out all the sound that you don't like in the hopes of ending up with the sound that you do. I don't do that. I just crank things up that I do like and push that as far as I can. Push it to 11 and 12. And that's really what's going to give me that like big, like radio ready sound, right? So glad that you guys are on board with that. All right, we got Jesus here. Awesome. Good to see you guys. Alrighty, let's continue with snare bottom. I just copied over the silencer plugin over here, and we're going to go snare bottom mode. That's pretty much done. That's totally cool. That's all that we need. And then we go Telos drums again. And we're going to go snare bottom. See what we have to do here. Pretty much the same principles as with snare top. Low end, attack, although maybe actually we're going more for sustain here with the snare bottom. And not so much on the attack side. We can totally have a bit more sizzle, right? A little bit more brightness there. And then again, that drive is really what's giving us that sustain again, right? And so that's, yeah, I don't know. If we blend that with the snare top, which is still fairly short, then we're just going to have a bit more sustain already. Just balancing them out. Okay, so they were already in phase. I just checked. We didn't have to flip the phase there. Yeah, we can get away with quite a bit of snare bottom, actually. Before it starts to get kind of sizzly or ugly. Pretty much like that. I kind of like that. And now let's just bring in our samples immediately. Like I said, I'm not of, you know, the type of guy that will just mix the entire drum kit, the live drum kit first, and then bring in the samples. I just start with the samples already in there. Because that's just, to me at least, is the fastest way to get, you know, a big drum sound here. So I have actually carefully chosen 3 different samples, and I literally just took those from the actual the actual final mix that I did for this song. But of course, I've deleted all the mixing and all the processing from them to show you guys what I've been doing there. This is the first sample actually. It's a blend of a couple samples here. Black Widow snare. This is another one of Brian Hood's samples. This one is muted, so don't worry about this one. This one is the most important one. It's like a steel snare with that has a lot of ring to it. And that ring is really what I'm looking for. And then another one with just a little bit more ring, which is super low, so we don't even have to worry about that as well. But that is what that sample sounds like, or the three samples actually combined. And as you can hear, I'm really going for three principles again, right? Low end, attack, but mostly again, that sustain is really what I'm looking for. And that sustain is so important because a lot of times people will send me mixes for review or whatever, and the snare is just kind of like a short, kind of blippy sound. It's just like, da! And it's too dry, and it's too much focus on just attack and having that stick hitting the drum head, right? But not enough on like the actual length and the sustain of that snare sound. And I really like to have as much of that, like, I don't know, like ring and sustain in the snare as possible. So that's what we're going to be focusing on while mixing this snare. Let's bring up Tello's drums again. We go to snare top mode. Little bit of low end. The samples already have quite a bit of low end in them. A little bit of top end. Because again, since these are samples, we don't have to do as aggressive processing. But I will crank up that drive as much as I can here. Because again, it's giving me a lot of that sustain, right? It's like the snare rings out twice as long, which is exactly what I'm looking for here. Maybe I'm actually going to push more mid-range and then push that into the drive. I do like that. It's a little bit more mid-rangey than I would usually go for, but if we push that into the drive, it's just really, again, giving us more of that sustain. And now if you blend this with the live snare, as you can hear, like most of the attack is actually still pretty much coming from the live snare, but that sustain in that ring is just something that the live snare is just not giving us, right? It doesn't have that. So in this case, the sample was picked for that reason. It's like, we need more length, we need more ring. Here's a sample that has it. What is my live snare not giving me that I do want? In this case, it was sustain and ring, right? So let's actually see if we need to flip the phase between these two. It's not a lot of difference. Sometimes it's not as clear, but I like it with the phase as natural as it was. Let's catch up on the chat here. Let's see. Oh yeah, the 90 hits stir. Yeah, cool. This one. The 90 hertz tip in a mix critique like a year ago, but the track was 100 times every... Yeah. The 90 hertz thing is still valid, man. In every single mix I do, it's like that 90 hertz seems to be the sweet spot for having a massive kick, right? It's just like, it has a bunch of sub to it connected, but also has a lot of low mid punch, which is going to give you a lot of energy and helps you to get a kick to cut through in the lower mids, right? So, let's see. Do you still use a transient design of kick snare toms? No, I do not. I try to get transient simply with the Telos plugin here by just compressing more. And if that is still not enough, I will have more of a parallel drum bus in, like blended in with the full drum mix, which we'll get to in a moment, of course. But the parallel, the crush bus, basically, I'm going to be focusing 100% on just getting attack out of these drum shells. And then by just simply raising or lowering that fader, I have perfect amount of control over the amount of transients that I get in my drums here. So, all right, let's see. Jesse was saying, can you please go over the different tracks that you have? What's the MIDI tracks for versus the wave track? I just did that in the beginning, dude. So catch the replay, and then I'm explaining all of that in the beginning there. But yeah, the MIDI tracks are basically just triggering the samples that we just mixed in, one of them at least. Let's see. Here's another question. When you are supplementing an existing snare track which is full of ghost notes, how do you best make a snare sample work with that track that has all these low dynamic hits? I dive in by hand, man, with the MIDI here. So this is our snare MIDI for one sample at least. Let me get this out of the way. And I literally just go in by hand. So let's say this is the intro fill here, but I literally just go in by hand and just... Okay, so that's a low one here. Just draw in the MIDI and just make sure that it sounds as, you know, human and as realistic as possible, like that. So if you want to go ghost note, you gotta go way down, obviously. But that's yeah, just a little bit more tedious for sure. Just make sure that every single snare hit has a MIDI note, and then from that MIDI note, you can accurately trigger whatever sample you want, right? So capture the MIDI. That's the first thing. Make sure that the MIDI velocities are the exact same as the live performance, and then trigger whatever sample you want from that. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's continue. We got another snare sample here, which I'm not sure if I want to use this one yet. It's more like an all-round snare sample, I guess, that just like close mic, overheads, room mics, all these things. It is, what is it, the White Raven snare. I have absolutely no idea where and when and how I got this one, but if you can Google the White Raven snare, maybe you'll find something, maybe you won't. I have absolutely no idea, but I'm not sure if I want to use this one yet, because I don't know what it's gonna give me yet. I know I've used it in the actual mix for the song, but for now let's just keep rolling without it and just see how far we can get without it. Because when I hear this, I'm kind of happy with that snare, right? It just needs more room sound, which is why we go to sample number 3, which is just a room sample over here. This is 2 of my most famous room samples here that I've been using on a ton of mixes. You guys in the old hardcore music studio community have these samples as well. Actually, I can probably drop these in the new Black Salt audio community as well for any of you Artist Pass members. But this is just room sound. That's all that it is. And I've tuned them down a little bit to kind of match the tuning of the live snare and the other snare sample that we're using here. And now I'm just going to process these with Telos drums, but then on the room mode. So we'll go to room mode and see what we need here. We have boosted a lot of low end on the live snare and the snare sample already, so I don't think we need to add a ton more low end with the room sample here. We can just cut out some of that low end here. And I'm doing a healthy amount of high cut here as well. And the reason why on room mode we have a high cut instead of a high boost is because when you cut out high frequencies, you're basically going to push a sound like into the background, right? Like into the distance, because high frequencies die first over longer distances. And so when you have a direct snare that has a lot of top end and a lot of high frequencies, your brain is going to think that sound must be up close, right? Because there's a lot of high frequencies that haven't died yet over the distance. Then, if you combine that with a room sound that doesn't have a lot of high frequencies but sounds way further to the background, you're gonna create a ton of like front to back depth, right, in the mix like that. So a healthy amount of high cutting here. I just kind of want it to sound as if he's way back into the room there, and crank up some mid-range maybe. Because what I'm looking for really is density. I'm looking for a super dense kind of snare room sound here. Probably want to compress it first, actually. Yeah, I'm gonna go with slam mode and just slam on the snare here, with the goal of creating more sustain, just getting more length in this sound here. And And drive, just again, just looking for more density. I love how dense it starts to sound here. Like, really just emphasizing the sustain and the ring, and putting it a little bit further to the background. So let's blend this in with the other snares. There happens to be some automation on this track. Here we go. So I can't touch the fader. Okay, let's flip the face. I think that sounds better. Actually, yeah, doesn't really make any difference whatsoever, so that's totally cool. So now we have a starting point snare, starting point kick and snare actually. Let's play these together. Alright, that's a good starting point. I think we can build onto that. Next thing I'm gonna bring in is cymbals and overheads and that kind of good stuff. These are probably fairly low in volume, so let me see if I can crank this up a little bit for you guys. And obviously we're gonna go with Telo's drums first in place here. And we're gonna go cymbals mode, and we're gonna cut out most of the kick and snare here. Really don't care about these in overheads too much, usually. Mid-range is probably one of the most important things I'm going to do to these overheads here, because cymbals by themselves have a lot of top end already. And a common mistake I see is that people will just crank up more high frequencies because, hey, that's what cymbals are for, right? High frequencies, so crank them up. But that usually results in just a lot of like thin, like lifeless, kind of bodiless kind of cymbal sounds, and it's just a kind of sizzle up, you know, up there somewhere. I don't like that. I like my cymbals to have a lot of body. Cymbals are very broad band. They start at 300 hertz and they go all the way up to 20K, and I want to maximize that entire frequency spectrum pretty much. So mid-range boost for sure here. Get a little bit more of that body of the cymbal in there. And of course, I'm also boosting some top end here because I do like that, you know, pristine kind of air sound on top for sure. Taking out some snare and kind of evening out the cymbals a little bit more still. And drive again with the same goal as the snare room. Basically looking for density here. Basically looking for, it's the same cymbal, there's just more of it. That's the best thing I can say to explain what it's doing here. So drive, maybe some tight as well here to get rid of some low mids. Let's get rid of even more snare. There we go. But I think for now this should be good. Let's level out these drums really quick. So we got all of our kicks. Our snares. And our cymbals. And I still want more mid-range. Okay, then we go to hi-hat, which he happens to be playing over here. Again, just good old Telo's drums. Here we go. Cymbal modes. There's a lot of kick and snare happening here, which we don't need. I need more body. More compression for sure, because the hi-hat is kind of uneven, right? It's not as consistent yet, so... Alright, and more drive. Same reason, right? Just more hi-hat. It's the same hi-hat, just more of it. Alright. Let's kind of level that out to the overheads here. That should be an okay starting point. All right. That's at least a starting point for these drums. And now we're just gonna kind of shape them a little bit more, give them a bit more character. So room mics, obviously, and some drum bus compression, etc. Let's catch up on the chat. Let us see. The snare samples, are these all one-shots? No, they are not. Let me think. The room samples are definitely like multi-layered. I don't even know how to call it. Like they have multiple velocities, I guess. And the other one as well, actually. The ringy one, this one, is also like a multi-velocity one. I don't usually get away with one-shot samples on snare. I can totally get away with one-shots on a kick though, because I think the kicks are one-shots. But yeah, usually in like rock or metal music, you can get away with one-shots on a kick. Let us see. Routing the snare, let's see. Have you ever thought of routing the snare room sample to the room bus? Yes, I have thought about it, but for some reason I'm just so, stuck in my workflow of just having the snare room sample routed to the snare bus so that I can kind of treat the snare as a whole there. And so, yeah, it would kind of, I don't know, it would feel like unlogical in my mind now, since I've been doing it for years this way, to change that, right? So, but yeah, I guess if you think about it, you can totally do that, but yeah, it just never stuck with me to try that. So, alrighty, cool. Love it that the chat is booming here. Awesome. Alright, here this is a good one. I'm sorry to say I'm confused. Trigger, the plugin is meant for replacing or enhancing an audio file like a snare or bass hit. Yes. How I get MIDI to operate. So I don't know if this works the same in every single DAW, but in Pro Tools, what I have done really quick is I have used Trigger here. Trigger, where are you, my friend? Trigger. On the actual snare live track. So it will see the transients here. But what it's also doing, it's drawing MIDI here, MIDI capture in the bottom left corner. And then you use the drag on track function and you just drag it onto a MIDI track here. And so then you have your MIDI of that snare over here. And then you just create an aux track with a new instance of Trigger on there. And you go to settings and you just, you route this one to the right aux track over here. So my trigger here is on snare aux 1. So this MIDI channel over here goes to snare aux 1. And it goes to the trigger plugin channel 1. And then over here I will say it will allow MIDI to, MIDI in. That's enabled here. And it will listen to MIDI node D1. And that's where all my snares are at on this MIDI track. And that's how you get MIDI to, or trigger to get triggered by MIDIs. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, let's continue. So now we have basic drums here. And we're gonna give these a little bit more 3D, more, I don't know, more character with the room mics here. So let's see what they sound like. Not too bad, but there's kind of like some boominess going on, which I don't really like. So we're going to room mode here. Want to tighten up that kind of boomy, kind of woo-woo sound in the low mids there. That is the kick drum. Again, boosting a lot of mid-range. Because I do want more snare and more body in the cymbals again. And of course compression with the goal to enhance the length of all these drums here. So I'm not looking for attack or anything like that. I'm just looking for a lot of sustain and almost like a sense of like 3D here. So I'm just looking for all the sound in between the actual drum hits. Same with the drive here. I just want that sound in between all these drum hits to be as loud as I can get it. And then I'm just gonna add a little bit of reverb to this to the room mics here as well. And so it's going to be super short because it's a drum room. It's not a cathedral, so we don't want super long decay times here. Just cutting out some low end from the reverb and just, you know, mixing it in just subtly, I guess. Okay, let's see if we need to flip the phase here. Probably want to make an extra EQ correction here. Just a little honkiness right around here that I'm kind of taking out there. So quick EQ there. So now we have all drum faders up pretty much. And now we can go to the drum bus, quite literally, because it's going to be the drum bus plugin, obviously. And I'm going to use my favorite preset, that is Sticky Shells. That's just my my self-made preset here, sticky as in glue. I know some people will, you know, have a different meaning to the word sticky. Sticky as in glue, okay? So gluing the shells together. That's what this preset is meant to be doing here, so... So we're losing a little bit of attack, which is totally fine here. I'm just looking for glue and just kind of the idea to make this sound like a full, you know, what is it, like cohesive, that's the word, cohesive drum kit. And I'm not looking for individual sounds that happen to be played at the same time. I'm looking for, this is one drum kit here. And I think that does it just exactly well. And then we're just going to bring in our crush bus. So let me lower this drum group fader a little bit. Yeah, and let me unmute our parallel drum bus compression track here. And so this is just going to be drum shells, no cymbals here. And over here I'm using another preset that I've made, which is called Parallel Death. Parallel Death. So we're just looking for attack here. So compression is way up, attack is way up, right? So we're just looking for super, super spiky, blippy kind of transients here. And then we're just going to blend that in with the other drums. And that way we just have a lot of control over the amount of glued together kind of dull sounding drum kit versus super spiky over the top compressed drum sound. And we can make you know, a decision about the final position for that later on when we have more context. So, really looking for over-the-top amounts of attack here. Probably gonna go a little bit on the brighter side here. Ah, crappy. Thank you, Alessandro. Yes, sir. Goodbye question. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, apologies, guys. Forgot the comma there. Okay, so drum bus compression, parallel death. Looking for attack. We did that just perfectly just now. And now we're just going to blend in that full drum kit with the attack kit here. So... And I love that. I love just how much control we have now over how much transient do we want versus how much cohesion do we want, right? So absolutely love that. I'm guessing that this is somewhere where we're gonna end up for now. And I'm pretty happy with what the drums are sounding like right now. But again, these are starting points, so we're probably gonna make decisions about, you know, the final levels and the final amount of whatever, low end or something on the snare when we have more context. So when we have guitars in, when we have bass in, all that kind of stuff here. So we're gonna be bringing in guitars now. I like to mix guitars before I mix bass. A lot of people like to mix drums and then bass and then guitars and then whatever else and then vocals. It's totally cool, totally valid. My approach is like drums in a rock or metal song are crucial. They're like the foundation, so I want to mix those first, give them as much, low end, top end, whatever as possible, because nothing else is bothering them just yet. Then guitars, same reason. I want to give those as much space in the mix as I can give them, right? So I want them super loud, super huge, as big as I can get them. And then whatever room is left, that's what I'm gonna use the bass, right, to fill the gaps that we're inevitably gonna end up with at that point. But guitars, to me at least, are usually a little bit more priority than bass, at least in the amount of space that they take up in the mix. So that's why I mix guitars first. So, and I'm gonna be mixing rhythm guitars first. So let me just mute all the other ones. The leads, what is it? This is not the solo, but this is something else, some cleans here. We're just gonna work on rhythm guitars first. So this is the guitar tone the client sent me, Hans sent me. I've got the DIs loaded up here just in case we don't get something cool out of this. Telos guitars, obviously. See what we can do here. So I love starting any guitar mix, whether that's acoustics or distorted ones like this, with just cranking up mid-range and finding kind of that sweet spot of like, hey, where exactly is most of the character here in the guitar sound? So I like that. Then I want them brighter, so I'm going with top end here. Bass player here, so watch out what you're saying. Yeah, man. Oh, don't worry. We're gonna get a massive bass in this mix for sure. And now over here, when it comes to adding brightness and energy to the guitars, I love how you can kind of play with both this high boost and the deharshing to kind of find the sweet spot of like, how bright do I want these guitars and how smooth do I want these, and kind of, for a metal song I will probably go brighter but less deharshing and just have a little bit more of the harshness in the mix. But for like more kind of radio rock almost, I want these a little smoother, so more deharshing here. Let's start with that, see what that sounds like with the drums. Sweet spot for compression, in my opinion, on this plugin is at pretty much the -3 dB of gain reduction. That gives you a nice kind of gel, kind of glue, kind of cohesion in the guitars here, without making it sound super pumpy or over the top or ugly, There's a couple like low chugs here that we have to control a bit. Again, pretty much -3. I don't want to like get rid of all the low end here. I just, I don't know. I just want to have it controlled, so that it's more cohesive and not as like jumpy. So yeah, chug control at -3 dB there. Smooth is usually my favorite saturation here. Inflate is kind of, I don't know. Yeah, inflate is kind of darker. Emphasizes the low mids more, and focus emphasizes the kind of upper mid range a bit more. I don't know. I still like smooth the best in most cases here. It's kind of similar as what we were doing on the Snare room mics. It's the same guitar, just more of it, right? It's just like, how much guitar do you want? It's like, yes. Alright, cool. And now let's see if we can get a little bit more low-mid energy in this guitar. I'm not not too worried about any sub low end or whatever, so I'm not gonna even cut out some low end or something like that. I just want, again, I want the guitars to take up as much space as they want. I really don't care. And then whatever room we have left after this, we're gonna be using the bass to fill that in. So let's see what the guitars sound like with the drums. And I even want a little bit more low end right now. Let's try that as a start for now. Let's see. Lucas is saying, did Hans quad track the guitars and also the mains or the two bar? Okay, no, these are DIs, exactly, yeah. So these are the DIs for these guitars, and he just printed them down to a stereo track. But yeah, they're the same part, so no quad tracking here. Let me get rid of the question this time. Here we go. Okay, cool. So it's just double track, man, left and right, that's it. To make the guitars brighter as well. When I listen to them in solo, I feel like that is bright, it's kind of harshy, I don't really like it. And then I put the drums, you know, in there, and I listen to the guitars. Then I'm like, wow, the guitars are dark, dull, kind of boring. So yeah, just more top end, more mid-range maybe. More low end as well, just cranking up as much of everything here. It's starting to sound okay. Let's see, what are we gonna do? Probably bring in bass now so that we can kind of work on the low end, the low mids, the relationships and everything there. And then we can just build on top of that. We can build, you know, the octave layers here and all these other things on top of that. So we got bass, good old DI. Let's see in the chat here. Let's see. Does that mean talk slower for the bassist? Bass players, man, they're always the ones getting teased the most, right? All right, let's see. How about the volumes? How much dB for drums and guitars? How much dB? I don't know. And I don't care about the numbers and the dBs and whatever at all. I really, really don't care. What I care about is when I hit play here. Oops, without, you know, with just the drums and guitars. I want all of that to be audible, right, and kind of sounding as big as we can get it. So massive kick, massive snare, massive guitars, that's what I'm going for. And whatever the numbers are, I don't care, dude. No, yeah, I don't care. That's really it. Okay, so let's go to get a bass tone really quick. Or actually, is it time, guys? Is it really time? Yeah, look, Alessandro is saying it too. Is it time for Telos bass? Is it time yet? What do you guys think? Or should we just, you know, use the old stuff? What do you guys want? Drop it in the chat. I don't know. I think we can probably tease a little bit of Telos bass, but I'll leave it up to you guys because it is coming and it is pretty freaking cool. Actually, screw it. I'm just gonna showcase it really quickly. So Telos bass. All right. Let's go. This is Telos bass. All right, it is not finished yet. I don't know when it will be finished. It will be in the future. But it is cool because we have a lot of good stuff here. We have actually amp sims here, and then we have a whole bunch of controls that we can use to mix bass. Let's just do it, okay? So raw DI, I'm just gonna pick any of our cool amp sims here. We got clean here. And then we can kind of, you know, choose how much gain we have and how much distortion we have by just cranking up or down on the input here. So we can pretty clean, or maybe go a little bit more gritty. Or you want to go heavy and go grind. Or you want to go distortion, and this is just the over-the-top one, right? For the real heavy stuff. I think I want to go with grind or grit. Alright, and so if you have watched me mix before, you have probably seen me order like multi-band compressors and even low control and everything to compress the low end on bass. But right now we just have two buttons here, two low end compressors here. We can compress the low frequencies and the lower mids, which is absolutely crucial here. And we can actually crank these up or down and give you perfect control about the amount of low end and lower mix in the mix here. So let's just check it out. Let's compress the lows here. And let's compress the low mids. And we can choose whatever low mid area we kind of want to compress here. And see what that sounds like. And then of course we have a mid-range boost here. Giving you a lot of control about that amount of, you know, the grindy frequencies here, and a bright switch. If you want to go bright. I'm not sure if we want to do that just yet. But I think in solo it sounds kind of cool, but let's just go without it first, and let's crank up the mid-range here. We have to leave the bass players alone. Okay, guys, let's agree on that. We have to not tease the bass players anymore. Hopefully the plugin looks simple enough, though. But yeah, I love it. All right. Let's continue mixing bass. So we got mid-range, low-end compressors, then just general like full band compression over here. It sounds very, very comfortable. And then we have two different kind of saturation units, I guess, or just two different ways. We could just have saturation with a bunch of different modes here. Grid, for example, or warm. So kind of self-explanatory, right? Or just hot. And of course, smooth. Which is, again, my favorite here. It's just like more bass. Same bass guitar, just more. And then we have enhance, which is a little bit more of like a low-mid enhancer, I would say. So a lot of different controls here. Let's put this in the mix and actually bypass all the other stuff on our bass bus. That sounds pretty cool already. Let's see over here in the verse. And then after that, I'm totally cool to just use a little bit of oxygen to just crank up even a little bit more of the string noise, right? I do love oxygen for that on bite mode here. That just helps your bass to cut through, you know, dense sections like this. Yeah, but maybe on these higher notes, it's a little too much already, right? So maybe we can have a little bit less gain. That sounds a little smoother. That. So that's just one plugin right there. It just makes everything when it comes to bass. The low end, the low mids, get your amp sim going on here. Oxygen is just because I love this plugin, but yeah, as you can see, you don't even need it, right? So alright, now is actually an excellent point in the mix here because we have like our main instruments dialed in. Now is the first time where I'm actually gonna listen to the balance a little bit more. Actually, I'm just gonna check out some questions here. If you guys, how you dig the Telos Bass plugin, guys? Do you like it? Do you like what you see here? I love mixing with this thing because it just makes a complicated thing so much easier, and I hope you guys can see that too. Let's see, yeah, in solo it sounds bright, cool, but maybe it'll sound harsh. Exactly, and that was exactly right, Alessandro. So, let's see. Yeah, it's just a bass compressor, man. It's just its own thing. So we just look at like what kind of compression would we like to have on a bass that will work in most scenarios, in most cases, perfectly. And that's basically what we're doing. So we're not modeling any old school gear or something. We're just looking for, we want this compression on bass all the time. Let's see. Are the low and low mid EQ after their respective compressors? I'm pretty sure they're before it. So if you crank up more low mids, you're also going to have a little bit more gain reduction happening on the compression. So I'm pretty much sure that they're before. But that's okay, because I want that low end to be boosted up first and then kind of control that so that it doesn't jump, right? If you compress first and then crank up your low end, it might still get a little bit shaky or wobbly afterwards. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. The guitar amp was used analog or amp sim? No idea, Victor. I have absolutely no clue. Maybe Hans is here. Is Hans actually watching the stream right now? If so, maybe Hans can answer that question. But I have no idea. And again, I don't even care, right? I just want it to sound great. So, all right. Netherlands, absolutely. Tone Wolf West. Netherlands, dude. Love it. All right, cool. Looks fantastic. Love it, guys. I'm happy you guys are digging the plugin here. Absolutely love working with it. So I can't wait for this thing to be yours and to hear all of you guys use it and get all of you guys' feedback and everything on it. It's going to be amazing. Again, I don't have a time frame for that yet. It's going to be soon, but we're just working behind the scenes on getting the bugs out and all these things. And so, yeah, no idea when, but it's going to come and it's going to be very, very cool. So, again, let's go back to the mix. This is the point of the mix where I'm going to start working on levels, see what kind of balance we want to have here. A little bit less guitars, I'd say. Still kind of bugs me here. Maybe we don't even need oxygen here. Mostly oxygen giving me too much of that sizzling sound here. For now I can work with that. Do want a little bit more sub-low end on my kick. So I'm gonna just crank up some low control here and just go subby 70 and below or something. That's more like it. Actually, let me throw on some headphones because I'm mixing low end on NS10s. What am I doing? That's it. That's already right in the ballpark here. Bass too. I love that. Okay, how sick. That is cool. I don't think we have have to touch the low end a lot. Yeah, for now I'm pretty happy with the low end relationships, etc. in general. I might change my mind about that though, because as soon as we have way more stuff into this mix, I'm also going to do a little bit of referencing and I might, you know, add or get rid of a little bit of low end, depending on what kind of information the reference track will give us. But right now, it's way too soon to reference other things yet. So let's see. Let's check the chat really quick. Here we go. How can I get an even low end using Telos bass? Dude, the compression on both low end and the low mids, you just compress those two however you see fit and whatever your bass source needs, right? And then of course here with the full band compression. So that's 3 different ways in which you can really control the amount of low end and just everything, right? You can control everything here. So let's see. Let's check it out. When is it available? Again, I have no idea yet. Gonna be soon. Yes, NS10's M Studio as the one that I'm mixing on. But I don't know. I would happily mix on CL810s or the other NS10s. Either way, totally cool. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so right now what I'm hearing is that our snare is too dry. We need more of the room sound because the snare is just like tuck, right? And there's no kind of 3D to it. There's no ambience to it, really. So I'm just trying to crank up that snare room sample a little bit. Maybe get some different mid-range. Yeah, like a little bit more like upper mids. So I'm yeah, just bringing back that high cut a bit. And now I feel like we actually added a little bit too much length to the sound. Maybe we don't have to slam it. Keep it a little bit shorter because we only have so much time in between all these snare hits, and I don't want that room sound to just be constantly like constantly going, right? So okay, and then I want to take out one more kind of honky kind of woo sound there. Oh, there we go. That's right in the middle there. Like it, and now we already have kind of a nice foundation here. So super sick. I'm happy with the way things are starting to sound. We have some octave guitars here. Just panning these out, and I'm probably just gonna go with Telos guitars on the bus just because I'm lazy like that. Again, mid-range first. And deharsing. Okay, just mix those super fast. I'm just looking for mid-range that's gonna help these to cut through the thick, you know, rhythm guitars. I don't want them to be harsh. I do want them compressed. So again, just glue, you know. I'm just looking for cohesion there. And I'm kind of keeping them a little bit harsh on purpose because, again, I want those to poke through the heavy rhythm guitars here, so. Let's see what it sounds like in the full mix. Alright, awesome. I just noticed we haven't mixed the toms yet, and it's always happening. I just forget about them because they're so not significant, right? So I'm just going to ignore them for a little bit longer just because. Pretty happy with how that is sounding. Yeah, that's nice. Let's keep that. for now. We also have some funky guitars here in the verse and in the intro, which are kind of more like more funky, quite literally. There's too much low end in them though. And for this kind of guitar and the role that it's playing in the song, I really don't care about low end here. I'm just looking for that kind of funky mid-rangey, kind of upper mid-range presence, that kind of stuff. So mid boost, obviously. Probably top end here. Okay, maybe there's still too much low end actually. I'm not sure. Let's check it in context. Have to lower these power chords just a little bit, because I do want the focus in the verse at least to be a little bit more on the funky guitar. And even have the bass come down just a touch, because I know there's going to be vocals here as well, right? So if you make this section massive, like max volume, everything being pushed to the max, there's not going to be any room for the vocals. So I want this section to be a little bit more subtle, so less low end, less dense rhythm guitars. Maybe even a little bit more like mid-rangey, presence-y, funky guitar here. So really just focusing them on that upper mid-range here. Pretty happy with that for now. Again, just the starting point. As soon as we get the vocals in, then we might have to adjust this. Maybe there's too much presence in them, but I can't say for sure right now, right? Because I need more context from the vocals here. So, with that said, let's continue to whatever this is. That's the hook right before the chorus. Which also has too much low end and not enough mid-range. So let's crank up guitars again. Going for definition here in that mid-range. We don't need to saturate them. They're quite loud, right? So maybe we just lower them a little bit here. All right, let's see what that sounds like in the full mix here. All right, there's nothing happening just yet, so no context yet. We have to bring in the clean guitars first, so let's do that. Clean. That's one of them. Okay, cool. We have... Okay, these are basically the same, so we can pan these out. And probably have these quite low in the mix. They're just there to give this section a little bit of power, I guess. So they're also quite lo-fi-ish. So maybe let's just double down on that lo-fi-ish. I actually made a preset for that. High gain? Lo-fi, here we go. Oh, I don't need this. I don't need the manual. Here we go. Lo-fi. Yes. Well, that's exactly lo-fi, right? So let's copy that over. Can even cut out a bit more low end though. Okay, let's try that for now, and let's see what kind of level they need. Okay, let's see what we need to do with this one. I do kind of like its character, but again, I don't need this much low-mid kind of beef here. I want this section right before the chorus to kind of sound a little bit small on purpose, again, right? So that the chorus is going to sound like twice as big in a comparison. So less low end. And a bit compression. Kind of even out all these things there. Not even going to saturate this because I don't want this to be more. I don't want this to be bigger. I just want this to kind of sit back a little bit. This one still has a bit of harshness going on. There we go, that's better. Alright, very cool. And then we have a bunch of swell effects and everything that I kind of want to bring in already so that we already kind of have a good idea of what kind of transition it's going to be from that, whatever this kind of announcement to the chorus is going to be. That is cool. And then we have some impact sounds. I don't know what kind of sounds. That's kind of huge. Let's try that. Meh. Let's try this one. Meh. I'm just going to bring in my own impact sound that I like. Just because I like it. Let me look, which one do I want here? This one, alright. Let's route it to the mix bus. Where are you, mix bus? Where is my mix bus? Let me see. Here we go, pre-master, there we go. I have to kind of align it manually. This is what it sounds like. This is huge, right? It's just over the top, and I just love that. Just kind of like, here's the chorus. Pay attention, you listener. Way too loud, obviously, but just to give you an idea there. Alright, and then, yeah, just also gonna bring in my classic double crash, which is this one. It's just a double crash sample. You can grab these from any drum library. We just print down a double crash. That's it. Route it to the mix bus again. Here we go. This is what mine sounds like. Just way over the top, super bright, and that's exactly what I want at the start of like a chorus, right? Just a massive double crash, even though it might be there in the overheads, and I'm gonna automate that to come up in volume for sure. But even with that, I still want to push things to 11, so I'm also gonna bring in the samples, right? So it's both. It's and automation and enhancing things just on the individual tracks level and bringing in the samples. So it's, you know, pushing things to 12 here. So that's a massive start to this chorus, right? So without the riser and the what is it? The massive impact sound, and without the double crash, it sounds like this. Kind of boring, it just comes out of nowhere, and then with all these three things engaged, that's how you start a chorus, right? I love that. All right, let's see what else can we bring in now. We got synths. Oh yes. Okay. Let's see. What time is it? We're 90 minutes in. Are you guys still here? Are you guys still having fun? Is this cool to see for you guys? Any good takeaways? Drop them in the chat so far. We're gonna get a lot deeper for sure. Let's see. Here's a good question, Max. Dude, good to see you. Are you always boosting low mids on bass for the most part? Yes. Oh, absolutely yes. Um, if you want to talk numbers, it's usually between 1 and 200. That's an area where it's going to provide a ton of glue with your rhythm guitars. And yes, I always try to get as much of that area in the mix as I can get away with without making things boomy, obviously. But yes, for the most part, yes, I'm never cutting it, never, because then you get a big kind of scoop or like a hole in the low mids, which I really don't like that. So, let's see. A couple of you guys are saying too much mid range on the kick, too much 2K. Yeah, okay, we can take a look at that for sure. The reason why I keep it in for now is because otherwise, if we just have the 8K, the 10K, all that stuff, if we just have that, it's just super easy to get a super thin kind of kick sound, right? It's just kind of like a super short blippy sound. I really don't like that. And I've noticed that, you know, a lot of kind of like I don't know, like modern kind of rock mixes tend to have less of that 10K nowadays and a little bit more of that 2K to have a little bit more powerful clicky sound. I hope that makes sense. But the 10K gets kind of thin very quickly, right? So, all right, let's see here. Just out of curiosity, have you used Telos guitars on both individual guitar tracks and guitar buses in a mix? Oopsie, not zooming in. Here we go. Yes, I have done that in the past for sure. So let's say I will have just the regular mixing that we've done just now on the rhythm guitars with Telos guitars, and then I still feel like, I wish they were brighter. Then I'll happily just throw on, you know, either Oxygen or Telos guitars again on the bus and just push things even further. Yes, I will do that for sure. In this case, it wasn't necessary because our guitar tone was already pretty good. So, yeah, it wasn't necessary, but definitely have done that in the past. Yes. All right, let's see. Snare bomb, any... Not yet. Great question, though. Not yet. I usually have that stuff coming in as soon as I have pretty much all faders up. Because right now, you know, I don't know if you were here from the start, but I literally just started the mix with my kick and solo, snare and solo, and so I don't have any idea what I want to do on my mixed bus yet when there's only a kick and solo, right? And so it's kick solo, snare, then it's kick snare overheads, then it's kick snare overheads rooms, then it's full drum kit and guitars, then it's full drum kit, guitars and bass. Now it's full drum kit, guitars, bass, lead guitars, and we're gonna bring in synths, and then we finally have something to send into that mix bus chain, right? So right now there's nothing going on there. I think there's plugins there, but they're all just not engaged or not doing anything, right? So let's just bypass or whatever. It doesn't matter. I haven't looked at it yet. They're all just at the, the default settings, right? So nothing going on there. Let's see what else. Oh, I love it, guys. You guys are digging this. Nice. Great question here as well. Did you adjust clip gain before mixing? I think I did a little bit here on the kick, as you can see, +4, because otherwise the level that you guys are hearing on YouTube live right now was so low. So I just cranked it up a little bit. But normally I'm pretty cool to just rock with whatever the client sends me, unless it's like -20 or something. I don't want that. Or if it's already like +15 or something. As long as I have headroom on the track to get my processing going and not clip my mix bus, I'm good. Other than that, I really truly don't care that much about gain staging or any of these technical terms that people want to give a lot of credit to for whatever reason. But no, I just rock with whatever, man. I'll just adjust the gain and like the fader balance, I guess, as we go, right? So hope that makes sense. Okay, cool. Let's see. This is a good one. Love it. Organization. Yeah, dude. Yeah, every time you have a big session like this, you just kind of create little subgroups, and that's going to take all your overwhelm away because you're just going to work on one little subgroup at a time and just make that little subgroup work in the full mix, right? So let's see. Oh, yes. Yes, I have. And it's coming as well. very soon. Yes. Just to read the question here for any that is just listening here. Have you tried to make your own plugin and that audio loom thing that Jordan used to make plugins outside of BSA? Yes, I have. And it's going to be a BSA plugin most likely. And so it's coming soon. It's going to be very, very cool, very, very useful. And I can't wait to show you guys. But that's all the info I'm going to give you guys just now. So you're going to have to wait a little bit for that. All right, no questions, so looks good. Let's continue here. We still have a lot of faders to bring up here. Let's see what we want to do. Probably want to bring in some synthesizers in the chorus. So that's these 4 purple ones here. And we have some pre-chorus stuff, it looks like. Or is that chorus? Yeah, that's pre-chorus stuff. So let's start with the synths for the chorus. So in this case, when we're talking about gain staging, this one actually looks way too loud, so let me just unmute my synths bus. Oh, sorry, that was way too loud. So this is a great example of where I will adjust the gain a little bit and just have a slightly lower signal. It's still very loud, right? So let's see what this is doing in the... actually, let me mute all the other tracks really quick. And then we're just going to check out what this is doing. We have another one. Okay, more pulsing, cool. A higher one, that's cool too. And just some ear candy, which is not going to be our main focus, I'd say. I'd say probably this one is going to be our main thing. Because it's just cool, right? So, just EQing it. Presence, obviously. And there's a lot of character here, like a lot of sound, really, literally just a lot of sound happening here in that, what is it, 1.5-ish mid-range? So I'm just emphasizing that a little bit and getting rid of some low end. Because that low end is probably going to clash with our rhythm guitar or bass or kick or all of the above, right? So I don't really need that. I just want this to be that mid-rangey kind of cool pulsating sound that we can hopefully hear in the full mix just a little bit. So I don't even want it to be super audible. I just want to have that little bit of that pulse going on here. Seems to be okay for now, and then I probably want to bring in that high one. Let's see, what do we want to do here? Probably more mid-range. And probably some delays, which I'm gonna drown in reverb. Goal is really just to kind of push it further to the background, even though it's super bright. So it's going to be up front no matter what we do. But yeah, even with that in mind, I just want to have a bit more reverb, create a bit more ambience around that thing. So it's not just like down the center like, but just a little bit more dense sounding almost. And then let's see what that sounds like. Really cool. It just adds a nice little layer on top of the octave guitars there. I dig it. I like it. Let's see about the other one. We have a lower one, and I don't need that low end here, so we're just gonna take it out. Again, I just need that mid range. We probably also don't need a lot of top end on this one. Boosting 2.5 apparently is where most of the character is at. And I'm just copying over the delay. very cool. I kind of like that. And then we have this other one. Not even sure what to do with it. Maybe just a weird sound or something. I don't know. Let's just layer it, see what it sounds like. Yeah, I'll probably just keep it kind of low here. And then I'm gonna group these channels so that if I change the volume for one of them, I'm gonna change all of them at once, pretty much. So just, yeah, I kind of like the balance that we have now, and now I'm just gonna treat them as, this is one synth, this is one sound, this is our chorus sound. Yeah, exactly. This is a great question here from Peter. Do we need all of the synths? Apparently we don't, right? That last one just kind of feels as if it's just adding a little bit of body to it, but it's not really doing much. And so it's totally cool if we can just mute it. You know, we can probably just mute it and not have any complaints from the client, or don't miss anything. The chorus is not gonna hit any less hard, right? It's still gonna be catchy and everything. So yeah, feel free to mute stuff if you really don't need it. A lot of guys will struggle, like, I have to make this work, the client sent me this, I have to make this work. That's not true at all, right? It's like, if this just really doesn't work, feel free to replace something. Maybe you can come up with a better synth sound for that, or whatever. Just mute it if you have enough synths. In this case, it's totally cool to just keep it low and just not really worry about it too much. So that's the chorus synths. Now we have the pre-chorus synths over here. This looks very loud, so I'm just gonna bring that down a bit to hopefully, yeah, hopefully not kill any more of the headphone users' ears. Let's see what it sounds like here. Ooh, that's cool. That is very cool. What do we have here? That's cool too. Okay, what else? Very nice. Okay, these are well produced, obviously. Okay, that's just our kind of attack for both of these. That's cool too. Okay, so we don't need much low end here again. Yeah, so what Peter's saying over here, like, I like them, but a very busy mix here. Yes, it seems busy for sure, but it's kind of meant to be like a big kind of, you know, busy kind of mix, right? It's just like a massive rock chorus, so it's okay if it just sounds, whoa, that's massive, right? That's okay. When it comes to the pre-chorus that we're working on right now, you definitely want to keep those a little lower, right? So again, I'm just gonna treat these 4 layers over here basically as like one thing, one instrument here that is below the guitars over here. The guitars are one instrument and the synths are one instrument. And so when you look at it like that, then it's not that busy, right? It's just 2 things. You got guitars, and you got synths, and that's it. And so it doesn't matter if that one synth is made up of like 8 tracks, which it actually is over here, a 6. But I'm just gonna treat that and think about that. This is one synth, and this is how loud I want that synth. That's basically what I'm looking at. And then, yeah, it doesn't feel as busy anymore, right? So hopefully that makes sense, but okay. So just taking out some low mids here. And adding some presence, because I just like what that sounds like. And then I want this one to be more wet. Delays it is. Okay, we can have a little bit less reverb there. Okay. Alright, EQ wise, we don't even have to do a lot to this one. Maybe make it a little bit brighter, more presence. I do like that, so... Okay, now we really need to lower these ones. They were kind of distracting. Let's see where they kind of have, or if they even have a little bit of mid-range. Let's just turn on the analyzer real quick. They do, luckily. Okay. I could have just used my ears there, so feel free to call me out on that. What is this guy doing, turning on his analyzer? Some notes have a little bit more top end than I would like to have, so yeah, sorry, just putting that in the screen. Just having a little bit of dynamic EQ there. Just reacting to these higher notes there to kind of keep that in check. And just keeping that low in volume for sure. And probably want to have this guitar layer a little bit lower in volume as well. Alright, that's super cool sounding already. Let's see. We got the pre-chorus synth mixed. We got extra layers over here. Actually, no, we have this one still. And what are we gonna do with that? Not a lot. I don't want to do any processing to it. I just want to bring it down a little bit so that it gives us a little bit of a transient here. That's it. That's all it needs. Very cool. Okay. Let's see what else we have coming on in the second pre-chorus, though. Say what you want, but these sounds are very, very cool. Let's see what it adds to the mix, though. So we have to lower that and make it less dense, I would say. Because otherwise it will be eating up too much space there. Eating up a lot of low end there. Probably gonna go for like a lo-fi-ish kind of sound here. Yeah, I'm not too sure yet. It's probably gonna go low in the mix though. Cool sound though. Okay, let's see what the other one is about. Nice. Alright, very cool. Not gonna process them whatsoever because it's just the right amount of low end, right? This is so cool. Alright, we're getting somewhere. Very, very cool. Let's see. We got the choruses down. We got pre-choruses down. We got verses. Actually, we got some shakers and tambourines here. We could probably make that brighter. Actually, let's go with oxygen. There we go. I need that air over here. That's it. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Can make that pretty bright and just have that focused on the top end, kind of as like a complementation, augmentation to the cymbals here. Obviously way low in the mix though, because you don't really want, you know, that shaker to be super, super loud here. I don't want it to take up any attention. I just want it to give me a bit of air, you know? -11 seems to be good. We also have this tambourine. Don't even have to process that. I just want to pan it out more. just giving us a little bit of like a top end shine or something there. Just something that you don't really hear, but you just kind of notice it when it's not there, right? So without, it's okay, and then with, you don't really even hear them, but you just sense that there's more density, more information, more things going on in the top end there. So beautiful little shakers there. Let's see what else we're going to be working on. Let's catch up on the chat. Let's see how you guys doing here. Jordan has entered the chat. There was HMS use your ears joke. Yeah, absolutely. No numbers and meters. You guys get it. You guys get it. All right, let's see. Yeah, for sure, man. It's like a little bit of both. I do like knowing the numbers as well, for sure. But as soon as you know the numbers, and as soon as you kind of know what kind of sound is related to the numbers, then to me it loses its significance. And it's just, with the Telos plugins, for example, it's just like, oh yeah, that's the sound. That's probably 120 or 150. Does it matter? It's like, that's the sound that I really want to enhance, right? So yeah, I get it. There's sympathy for both views there. Let's continue, because what are we? Almost 2 hours in. I want to get to the point where we have most of the instrumentals up and pretty much in the mix. And then we can probably sign off for today. And then for Thursday's live stream, we're going to do vocals. And then we're going to do all the automation. So that's probably going to be my favorite live stream here. Because right now it's just, unmuting a gazillion different synth tracks here, which we're going to be doing for sure. But yeah, the automation, that's really when the song is going to come to life here. Let's see what we have here. That's a cool sound. What kind of section is that? Okay, cool. Let's check it out. And what else do we have here? Okay, cool. We're going to some weird sounds here. What else is this? Cool. Okay, so just weird sounds. We just don't have to do a lot processing to them. Even though I don't really like the amount of low end here. Yeah, low mids. I don't need that. I do need more of this though. Just a bit more character there. Okay, cool. Okay, you guys have to remind me that we still have to mix our toms. We probably have ignored them for long enough now, right? So I love this one, man. Or is it this one, actually? Yeah, it's probably just a combination here. It's just so dense. Love that. Go into the chorus again. Awesome. Okay, so we have more bridge synths over here. What is this one? Okay, it's got the same pulse as the one in the pre-chorus, I'd say. Or in the chorus, actually. What do we have here? Another very cool one. There's no shortage of cool synths in this track here. I'm saying. That's very cool. Okay. Okay, that one is boring, so we can probably just keep that muted. That one is more. It's also boring, but it probably has more use. Just have it a little bit brighter. That's very cool. Yeah, let's just keep it as that. Maybe compress it a little bit. Okay, let's try that. And of course I want to drown this one in reverb and or delays. Let me just play that in solo. 1/4. Alright, awesome. No, I want to go less feedback. Okay, that sounds a little bit wet, which is cool. And then we have this one, which is super loud. I'm just gonna gain that one down a bit. Ah, yikes, sorry guys, that was still way too loud. Okay. Alright, let's just bring it down even more. And give it a bit of delay. Probably want to have more of this one. And or this one. Yeah, that's probably my favorite, so let's use that one the most. Let's EQ that. We don't need low mids and whatnot in this one, we just need mid-range. That is very cool. That's going to be our main thing in this bridge, probably, at least as much as we can get away with here. So let's start with this one. Very cool. Let's bring in the other ones just to kind of complement this one now. And this one. Yeah, I'm not too sure about this one. This is just so dense, right? But it's not really adding anything here. It's just a bunch of noise, so I would much rather keep this one super low and give this one more the priority. Because it's so much cooler, right? Bridge right there. Again, the levels, we're probably going to decide that later on, right? When we're going to be doing automation, that's when we're going to make final decisions about this. But for now, I'm kind of happy with this. So let's group these again. And these are going to be our bridge synths so that we're going to keep the relationships intact and we can just lower all of these faders at once or raise whatever we need, right? Let's keep them pretty much like that. Pretty happy with that. We got more synths in the outro over here. We got even more over there. Oh, that's just a regular chorus synth. Okay, cool. But then in the last one we even have a bunch more. So let's check out what's happening here. What the heck is this? Okay, very cool. This is an extra melody. And what is this one? Nice. That is sick. Okay. Not what you expect in a rock track, right? But I love this. Again, the noisy one, we don't need that. We're just going to keep that low. And it's mostly going to be this one, I'd say. I feel like that one is going to have no issues cutting through after we bump up some mid-range here. Yeah, sick. Okay, so this one can probably come down in volume a bit. Because it's a little bit too dense and too much low mids here. That's clouding up the mix, so let's just get rid of them. It's higher up than that, so let's see what where it is. There it is. Okay. Very cool. Let's have that pretty low in the mix. Cool, very cool. That's just the big finale, right? So we can probably make that like louder than everything else in the song here. Yeah, and even a bit brighter, I'd say. Where are we? Here we go. More like that, but then maybe too loud now. right, this is getting very cool. We're getting close though to the end of today's live stream because we have brought in a lot of stuff. Guys, how are you liking this mix so far? Let me know if you guys have any questions, any things that you want to take an extra look at, any things that are just not clear to you guys. Now is the time to ask me any questions about anything in this mix so far, because I'm gonna be unmuting a little bit, a bunch of these layers here, like the risers and the impact samples and whatnot. But after that, oh, and I'm gonna be copying this one over to other courses and whatnot. But after that, I would say it is actually a great time to sign off for today. We got a great instrumental mix going on already. Then next steps would be in 2 days from now, Thursday, I will have one back a little bit of objectivity on this mix. Then we're going to spend, 20 minutes or something just to kind of fine tweak the frequency balance, the volume balance, make sure that everything kind of sits in the place where we like it to be. We're probably going to mix toms Thursday as well. Actually, maybe I will still mix these in just a second here. And then we're just gonna bring in vocals and do automation and like make all the final decisions about everything, right? All the volumes and everything here. So let's check out questions and or comments. Let me see. Oh yeah, this is exactly right? So John is saying 100 minutes ago, the Pro Tools session with all these tracks seemed very intimidating, but now you're just bringing everything down to little subgroups that are very easy to manage. And that makes it so much easier to kind of mentally keep, mentally keep an eye on what's going on in every single section of the song, right? So highly recommend it, guys, to spend that little extra time on the prepping and make sure that everything kind of sits in like a nice logical way that makes sense to you and you only. But again, there's little subgroups here so that you can really work on little subgroups at a time. And there's no song too big anymore when you work like that. So happy to hear that was a good takeaway, man. Let's see. Exactly, right. Yeah, so as soon as you know what it comes down to, you just make it sound good. That's what we do, right? That's why we're here. We forget about the numbers. Nobody cares about the numbers except this weird little community that is audio engineers. But we're not engineers, right? We're artists. This is just about bringing art to life, making art sound good. It's like a painting that looks rough and ugly, and we polish it, and then it looks great. That's what we do, right? So we don't have to worry about the numbers. It's all about bringing out the sound that you want. So, here's a good question. Did you dial in the reverb sense for the snare? I did. It's over here, but it's muted. I don't always use snare reverbs, to be honest. Probably you know that, Lucas, because you've seen me mix before, actually. But no, I think the snare room sample is like a more natural kind of way to give you, reverb or like 3D to the snare. So I prefer using room samples most of the time, and if it still feels too dry after that, then I will bring in the reverb. But for now, I think it's okay. Maybe I'll change my mind on that Thursday, but for now, I think it's all right. All right, let's see. Yeah, absolutely. So you have to have that knowledge for sure, right? Arcane is asking, I see you boosting a lot of 1K, 2K, 6, and 8K. How would you characterize these frequencies and know which areas to focus on? So the 1 and 2K is basically the area that has a lot of, a lot of power and a lot of, well, how would you even say that? A lot of character, I guess. There's just a lot happening in 1 and 2K. And so if you bring up that 1 and 2K area, there's just a lot of definition coming with that, right? Because there is so much happening there. And then if you emphasize that, there's just more happening there. I hope that makes any sense. But there's just a lot of, let me say it like that. There is, in most sound sources, you can solo out that 1 to 2K area and you can just listen to those frequencies only, and you would still know exactly what is going on. You would still know exactly what kind of instrument is being played, what kind of, notes it's playing, all these things. You can just hear that, tell that by just listening to that 1 to 2K area. And so that means there is a lot of information in that 1 to 2K area. And so if you want more definition, more information, right, that's the area that you want to be boosting. Right, I hope that makes sense. 6 and 8K is just more presence and energy, which is a completely different thing. But that 1K area is so crucial. So I can crank it up as much as possible on everything, and it just gives me a lot of information, right? A lot of definition. So, yeah, exactly. Are we getting to the toms today? Yeah, for sure. Man, toms are easy, dude. They should take you 5 minutes. Let's mix toms today, all right? All right, Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Same time as today. All right, love it. Penny Fire is taking off. Cool, man. No stress. We'll see you. We'll see you next time for sure. Let's. Oh, dude. Actually, John is from the Faroe Islands. Hans is actually from the Faroe Islands. The writer and owner of this song is actually from the Faroe Islands as well. So you might even know each other. Love that. All right. If I don't have Telos guitars, what is a good substitute for the deharsher? Just subtle high pass filtering? No, it's not that. I think it's fixed frequencies that are just being notched. And so it would be just notching frequencies, but just to make your life easier, just get the Telos guitars plugin, man. And yes, I am biased, right, to say that. But yeah, man, it's a great, but it's notches, I'd say. So it's not a high pass filter where you get rid of all the top end, but it's more like subtle individual frequencies that you get rid of. So, all right, good chat here. We're just gonna do a couple last things. We're gonna mix toms really quick. Then we're gonna bring in all these little samples here and our mix bus probably actually, and then we're gonna sign off for next time. So really quick, let's check out toms here. Let's bring in Tom 1. Wow, that's cool. Telos drums. We go to rack tom mode here. And we're going to be boosting low end, top end. A lot of top end. A lot of top end. All of the top end. Okay, and then I still want more. So again, more mid-range. And a lot of drive. The drive here is actually my favorite in the toms mode because it gives you a lot of low mid power or punch. I don't know how to explain it, but hear that, it's like twice as big, even too much, right? And there's nothing anymore, right? So it's just another low end enhancer almost here. So absolutely love that. Just pan it off center a bit, and I'm just gonna copy that over to the second tom. See what kind of. Oh, that's perfect. We can even crank up drive more. Just more low end there. I would compress them too, but I feel like the recording by itself with that huge top end boost there already has a lot of attack to it, so I don't feel like we have to do a lot there. Okay, cool. And then I'm just gonna copy that over again to our floor tom, and then we go to floor tom mode here. And again, it's perfect. I love that. So that's how easy tom mixing should be, man. I don't know who was asking. Megay? I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but just boosting a ton of top end because you want that stick attack, right? And then you also want to emphasize that low end, of course. And then let's see what they sound like combined. Maybe I want even more top end on the floor. Yeah, so more, actually just more attack. So let's compress that one. That sounds good. Let's see what that sounds like in the mix here. What was that, 2 minutes, right? For all three toms. Okay, let's level them out a bit. That's pretty much done. Okay, over here, I like it when they're kind of panned out a little bit so that it sounds wide. So we'll just pan the second rack tom off to the left so that it's more like two wide toms here. kind of prefer that. Yeah, I think that's cool. That's it. That's all we have to do for okay, same thing over here. I'm just going to pan these out simply just to make it sound more fun, you know? Because when there's two toms that are both panned out to the left, it's just kind of hard to differentiate them from each other. But now it starts like a wide kind of ding, and then he continues on the floor tom. So I do like that. Let's see if we need to do the same thing here. Yes, we do. Very cool. And then over here, I'm good with that. I think that's fine. I do think the rack tom is a little too loud and the floor tom is a little too low. And the toms actually is the first thing that makes me think that these are live drums, because the rest of it sounds very programmed, right? So, but the toms do have some cymbal bleed and whatever. Yeah, it's kind of weird. So I'm still on the fence whether these are live drums or programmed. Anyway, that's it for toms. That's all we need. Occasionally, I will add a little touch of reverb to them, though. So let's try that. Not too much, just a little touch of plate. Where are you? Reverb, little plate. Again, very short decay time and not a lot of mix, and cut out a bit of low end. Shortest decay time, so half a second. I really don't need the toms to go like and then just disappear in a cathedral. Short decay times on drums, always. So that's already maybe too much. Nah, it's totally fine. In context of the full mix, it kind of disappears a little bit, right? So very cool. Nice. So Alessandro was saying, I notice even with you that the toms sustain distorts quite a bit. I'm not too worried about that, man. I think it sounds totally fine in context of the full mix. When it's a little bit distorted in solo, I'm not too worried about that, because I'm even cranking up that drive, right? So I'm kind of causing that. But again, in context of the full mix, which is the only thing anybody is ever gonna be hearing, I think it sounds totally fine. So I'm cool with that. I'm not too worried. That's it for toms. Let's copy over these samples over here to important sections of the song. So that will be the chorus over here, which is here, I think. Yes, it is. And then we have another chorus right over here. Yes, okay. Alright, and now we can set some levels. I think the snare is just a little bit too loud and kind of too upfront now. Just tucking it back in the mix ever so slightly, and maybe even add a touch of reverb to it. Let's see. It's very, very subtle. It's a studio reverb, which I think is, is it waves? I have absolutely no idea. It's the studio preset, so it's very short decay time. That's what it sounds like, just a studio reverb, right? It's adding something. Let's see what it sounds like in the full mix. Alright, pretty happy with that. Now let's unmute all these impact things. We even have a sub synth here that we haven't touched yet, so we're gonna probably try and blend that in somewhere as well. Let's see what kind of impacts we need to add here. It's just a low end kind of impact here. Kind of a weird one, but I don't hate it, so let's see. Yeah, it's not gonna add too much, but it's okay. We have another riser here. Ooh, that's cool. Okay. Definitely want to keep this one very, very low. More like that, so you kind of sense that it's there, but you don't really put your finger on it, right? I'm happy with that. That's pretty sick. We have more impacts. Wait, did I just mute this one again? Okay, then we have this one over here. That's an interesting one. Let's see where it's happening. Oh, okay, cool. So out of the verse into that pre-chorus. Just a nice reverb tail. That is so cool. Very well produced song, right? So, ooh, great question here. Do we have Telos vocals? Yes, sir, absolutely. Yes, we will have Telos vocals. We're working on it. We don't have a test version for it quite yet. At least not ready to show in a live stream like this. But it's coming, and it's going to be very, very cool. So, yes, we will. We are working on a Telos vocals. Yes. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Okay, cool. Just low end. Let's lower that. That's totally cool. Just keep it kind of low in volume there. All right. We have another riser here. Ooh, that's very cool. Let's see. They probably work together. Yes. All right. So let's keep this one low in volume too. Alright, so these are definitely meant to kind of be working together, so let's just put them right next to each other. Okay, so we have to have more of this one. And the ending is a little bit weird, so let's just fade that out. Kind of like that. More like it. And then we have to do the same over here. Very cool. I love these little sounds there. We had this one. Oh yeah, we already mixed that one in. Very cool. We have a couple of these over here. Probably have them louder over here. Yeah, kind of like that. Just kind of emphasizing that first hit there. Very nice. And then we have a reversed cymbal. Kind of extreme again, which is cool. It's too loud. I don't like this one. It's too short. Let's see if we can just use this one, but just reverse it. Reverse, render. Here we go. And then it was supposed to go over here, I think. Yes. And then, of course, we're also just going to have the tail. So it's going to be fade in and then just the explosion. That is kind of cool, but maybe we need more like that. I do like that. That's kind of cool. We can keep that. Then we have, yeah, this one can just go, delete, bye-bye. We have this riser over here. Let's see what this is all about. Ooh, that is a very cool one again. Let's see where that's happening. Right before the chorus. Okay, cool. Very nice. I'm also probably gonna add my own riser sample to that as well, which is this one where, let me see. Swell, here we go. And just put it right over there. And this is what mine sounds like. Just a good old kind of white noise swell there. And maybe have this one a little lower. Yeah, and then the weird one a little louder. Very cool. Alrighty, happy with this. I'm gonna do one more thing, and then we're gonna sign off after checking the chat, because we have pretty much all faders up right now, except for the bass synth, so that's what I want to work on. Other than that, we pretty much have all faders up, so we can just kind of let this, this kick one, but yeah, we can keep that for Thursday. So we can kind of let this sit for a little bit and sleep on this for a little bit, and then come back to this Thursday with a little bit more, fresh ears, more objectivity, and see how far we can push this static mix, and then work on our vocals and our automation. Let's check on the chat. Let's see. Here we go. If we have more good questions or something like that. Alrighty. Great to see you again, Lucas. Awesome, man. Always good to hang out. Alright, let's see. Martin is asking, maybe I've missed it, but are you also compressing synths in this mix? Is it necessary? I don't think I am, except for one of them, which I'm most likely not going to be able to find. Let me see, which one was it again? Was it this one? I don't even know. There's one synth that I compressed because it was a little bit too all over the place, but I don't even remember which one. Maybe it was this pulsating one. Let's see. It's not that one. I don't know, man. I forgot. There's one synth that I am compressing, but I don't remember which one. So we have to check the replay for that. All right, let's see what else. Let's see. Alright, so not necessarily, but whenever I feel like I want just more width and just more extreme, and I want it to sound more fun, that's when I do it. So when a drummer goes like, in like a build-up, like gung, gung, and it's just like both of them pan out to the right, that just sounds dull to me, even though it's more realistic. I just like it to sound bigger, right? So in those cases, I will pan them out. I hope that makes any sense. But it's not always when there's just two toms that I will pan them out. Just like on these kind of like stadium rock, like, hey, I'm gonna hype up the audience a little bit. That's when I pan them out. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, when does clipping drums come into play? Have the drums already had some clipping? Actually, David has a really good question. In this case, I did not clip the drums that much as usual. And that is because, actually, a little tech thing, the streaming software that I'm using, it sends a very low volume to YouTube. And so I had to kind of do some clipping on the mix bus and some limiting here to give you guys at least a little bit of a reasonable volume. So there was like a constant little bit of clipping happening on the drums already. But when I will use clipping on drums is basically when I'm looking for more volume. Oopsie, I just deleted. So when I'm looking for more volume without triggering my mix bus compressor too much, or without triggering a limiter or like a clipper on the mix bus too much or whatever, that's when I will go for a clipper, right? Because in my opinion, it's like the cleanest way to get a little bit more volume. Whereas compression and or limiting will always have a little bit more of like a pumpy kind of side effect to it, which I don't always like. And in those cases, I will go for clipping. All right, let's see. Can't wait to listen to full mix. It is definitely uploaded already for sure. The song is called "Confusing Me" by Hans Hammer. You can see that on top of the screen there, Hans Hammer. So check it out for sure. It's definitely already out there for you guys. Check it out on Spotify. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, you guys are jumping it. I'm answering questions without having to. Thank you, Lucas. Love that. All right, let's see. This is a great one. Roelof, how much is a drum room track still adding in your mixes? I always notice my drum rooms kind of disappear and the snare room takes over. That makes sense. Let's check it out, man. Let's just solo the drums. These are the rooms here. Let's see what happens when I mute them. more of these in the mix now that we're hearing this. So let's go to a section without that massive sample there. So it's adding quite a lot in the sense of like it's way more 3D. There's way more kind of, you know, space and ambience around the drum kit. Yeah, and when you mute the room mics, it just the drums are so dry, it's just completely boring suddenly, right? And it just feels very disconnected. Like there's a kick and a snare, and they happen to be in the same room. And that's what our drums sound like, but with the room mics actually engaged, it just sounds like an actual drum kit in an actual room a little bit more, right? So absolutely love that. Let's see. Let's unmute those. Yeah, and then we're gonna be working on our mix bus stuff and then some vocals and automation in the live stream this Thursday. All right, so I think that will be a great place to wrap it up for now. Quickly checking on the chat to see if we're catched up on questions here. Yeah, this is actually true that that can be intersample clipping, as far as I know, for sure. Yeah, so it's like it's not literally clipping, but as soon as your converter converts it back to an analog signal again, that's when it will go over the zero line a little bit, and that can be a little bit detrimental. So yeah, I always have the final thing in the chain for me will always be at minus, you know, 0.1 or 0.2 or something like that. So yeah, for sure. Yes, absolutely, man. It still adds a lot of glue. That's exactly right, for sure. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Without the room sound, it just sounds like a drum machine. Yeah, fully agree, man. Absolutely. It just sounds lifeless or something. I don't know. It just sounds way too artificial. I don't know why. But yeah, awesome. All right, cool. Love that. Love that. Love that you guys had a blast here. Very stoked to see that. The replay is gonna stay up, so feel free to just, you know, go back to this whenever you kind of want to refresh it or something. We're gonna be working on our mix bus, on our vocals, and on our automation on Thursday. Here we go. What's up? So, wishing you all great 2 days. Stay healthy, stay safe. I'll see you all this Thursday, and we're gonna wrap up this mix for Hans Hammer. Very stoked. Love it. Awesome. See you guys. See you Thursday. Have a good one. Take care. Bye bye.